Then chapter 1. Look at this one. 11031. Minimum distance from fence to live part. If it's 1000 volts to all the way to 13,799 volts, it needs to be at least 10 feet. Listen to this one. Unqualified person. Who use those type of language? Inspectors. They want to know, are you qualified to be in this place or not? Are you qualified to be in this? Are you qualified to be doing this work or not? That's what it is. So that's why I call chapter 1 the inspector chapter. So that way I can look at something and say, hey, I can look at a question and say, you know what? This is a chapter 1 question. Before I even open up my book, I can say that's a chapter 1, that's a chapter 2. So that means when I'm taking the test, because I'm gonna only have like 3 minutes per questions, I don't have time to be looking at useless chapters. I need to be able to be in the right neighborhood. I need to be able to be in the right neighborhood. If I'm driving to Springdale and I find myself in Fort Smith, I'm in big trouble. I'm gonna be late. If I'm in Springdale, and I need to be in Fort Smith, and let's say I'm going to Home Depot and they're gonna close at 9 o'clock and it's at 50, I'm in trouble. You know why? Because I'm in the wrong area. I don't have time to get there anymore. That is why you need to know in your mind what in the world is chapter 2. Now we get to chapter 2. You know what I call this chapter? The shopping list. Here's why. I show up to a job site. Slab is done. Let's use residential. Slab is full. Stud is up. They just put the roof. You know, they have the tie back outside. I'm showing up in the job for the first time. Brand new guy for the first time. Guess what I'm gonna need? I'm gonna need a pen and a pencil. That is the first thing I need. Pen and a pencil, because I'm gonna call Elliot or wholesale, because I'm gonna need to order some material. You know what I need? I need chapter 2. Because he's why. When you're looking at in chapter 2, the first thing it says, I need to identify my wires. I need to know what I'm gonna use. Am I gonna be using Womex? Am I gonna be using MC? I need to know. I need to know where I can put this stuff. If I know it's residential, why in the world will I be thinking about like MC? I don't need MC. You're not gonna see MC in chapter 2. I don't need that yet. But it's the good thing about it. Then I'm gonna go to watch. I'm gonna go to chapter. Then I go to Article 210. It's gonna tell me, okay, grid circuit. What can I put in the kitchen? Do I need to put the kitchen in a hot pot breaker and put some GFCI plugs, or do I need to do a combo? Wait a minute. What kind of breaker I'm gonna put in my garage? Wait a minute. Do the dishwasher and the disposer? Can I combine them? Can I run a 12-3? Put them, in a 2-pole 20 GFCI? I need to know all of these things. Then he's gonna tell me, oh, okay. Then this is the same chapter that told me, Mark, you cannot go more than 12 feet without a reset. My first reset, okay. What I used to do, I just walk like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom. That's a reset. Like they don't even need to measure. I can tell that's already less than 6. That's the chapter that tells me that. So from this chapter here, I don't need to buy anything else. I don't need to buy anything. I just need to know what I'm gonna need. I'm gonna make all of my list. From there, I need to know that because of this chapter of chapter 2, I know how many GFCI I need. I know how many arc fault I need. I know what size panel I need. I know what size my service is going to be. I know what size wire I'm going to pull. I can build my entire work sitting right there with my code book without ever calling Elliot. Now, that's my shopping list. Now, we get to chapter 3. That's what that is. That's my Wolfman chapter. You know why? Look what's in chapter 3. All of the things that I need is on chapter 3. I got wires in chapter 3. I got boxes in chapter 3. Every single thing I need for the Wolfman is in chapter 3. Every single thing. From the wires, pipes, you name it. boxes, you name it. It's all in chapter 3. So guess what you think chapter 4 is gonna be? The trim out chapter. You know why? That's when you're talking about. Show you a good example. Let's look at chapter. Hey, we're not gonna even leave chapter 2. I love chapter 2 too much. Matter of fact, in chapter 2, it's gonna even tell me what sizes wires do I need for my ranges and all of that. When we get there, we're gonna have a lot of fun. Then it's gonna tell me my outside branch circuit. Let's say as I'm doing this, as I'm working, as I'm making up my list, and the homeowner come up to me, still in chapter 2, say, hey, you know what? I forgot to tell you, we're gonna have a barn outside, and we're gonna have a little shop outside. Guess what? 225 out of branch circuit. Now I know how deep do I need my, my ditch going to be. I can base it off that. If I'm gonna put concrete on it and all of that thing, or if I'm just gonna, I can base all of that from chapter 2. Because the reason why then when I get to 230, it's gonna give me service. If I'm gonna have an underground service, there it is right there, above roof. Or if I'm gonna have a service that's gonna be on the ground, if I'm gonna have a mast that's gonna be sticking out of the house. Then you get to 240. I got all of my breakers over here, but guess what? He doesn't give me any breakers. He told me what type of breakers that I needed. Then I get to 250. He told me what type of groundwork that I'm gonna need. Or what can I use for ground? If I'm gonna have a U-fer, or if they're gonna have a pipe, so I can have all those. Then you get to chapter 3. Chapter 3, I got all of my wires over here. And let's get to chapter 4. Chapter 4, I have all of my flexible cords. The only time I use flexible cord is when I'm doing pendants. And if I'm doing little pendants, little lights, these all the little flexible cords that I use. And then, look at this, fixture wires. Article 404 switches. When do we use switches? When we're doing trim out. Looking at 406, receptacle. When do we doing that? Doing trim out. Looking at 408, switchboard, switch keys, panel, breaker panels, all of those. Again, same thing. Control panel. Look at this. 410, lights. Look at this one. 411, low voltage lighting. If you want to have all those cute little lights for your wife and for the little flower bed, guess what? That's in 411. This is, when you're looking at the code book this way, it makes it so much more easier. Then you get to 422. You know what you got over there? Appliances. When did you put appliances? Doing trim out. So you get all of your washers, dishwashers, laundry and all of them. Then over here on 430, guess what you got? You got your motors. That's when you have like, and of course you have other things you probably never use, like snowmobiles and all of those things. But not snowmobiles, snow
bunnies.
Huh? Snow what? Snow whatever. If you have snow to clear out your driveway, that might be for some rich people. Because I just use a shovel. I'm the motor. So and this one works all the time. Unfortunately. 445. Guess what we got? We got generators. When do you put generators in your house? You don't trim out. If you're rich, you call generator. Put one over there. 450s, you got transformers. But if you start looking at it, the reason why you have transformers on 450s is because you're looking at places like Siemens, Tyson. That's when you start bringing like those transformers in there. Capacitors and things like that. Storage batteries, all of those things that you do. Now you got chapter 5. So what do you guys think chapter 5 is? So here's the best way to think of chapter 5. That's not ready. You ready for this?
Hazard locations.
Huh?
Hazardous locations.
Chapter 5? Chapter 5 is called special occupancies. The word occupancies, think of it, it's come from the French word. It's almost like thinking about home. Special home. Best way to think of it. Here's the best way to think of chapter 5. Chapter 5 is this. It's anywhere, any places that we go, but we don't live there. You're like, what the heck? Any places that we go, we can stay there for a while, but we don't live there. Watch. It's gonna make sense. Start looking at some of them. So if you go in chapter 5, you don't even have to turn there. You can tell I'm a little excited because I say it all the time. So watch. Any places, remember I said any places that we go, heck, we usually hang there, have fun over there, but we don't live there. First one, look at this. Airport hangars. How many of you guys ever been to an airport? Do we live at the airport? But do we use the airport? Do we hang at the airport? Do we stay? Heck, you might even have a layover, but you don't live at an airport. Watch the next one. 517.
Healthcare facility.
There you go. How many times you get sick? You sick, you go to the hospital. Heck, I hope you're not living at a hospital. You go there. Here's the thing you have to think about it. Chapter 5 is any places that usually have people in there. People usually there, hang there, but we don't actually live there. It's not our home. It's almost like chapter. It's almost like chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4, because you need chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4 to build your house. You're gonna live there permanently. But chapter 5, you need this. You need this for here for your home. You don't need the rest of those for your house. Well, except for that, because you're gonna need TV, right? You're gonna need the internet. Except for that. But those three, you can live without those. Where I say you can live without them, but you also need them. Does that make sense? You don't live there. It's gonna make sense. This is for me to build my house. I don't need a hospital to build my house. I don't need a airport to build my house. But heck, if I want to go to New York, I need the airport. If I'm sick, I need to go to the hospital. This is why those called special. This is like special conditions, special places. Another thing you need to look in about this one too in chapter 5, you have healthcare right there. You have healthcare on Article 517. Places that we go, people work there, but people don't live there. Listen to the other one. You have theaters, movie theaters. That's 518. So here's another one. 525. Carnivals, circuses, places like Disney World. Here's another one. Ag buildings, RVs, the park trailers, and all of those marinas, boatyards, all of those places. Heck, they even put in 590 temporary installation, kind of like places like, like we're gonna have one right now. So all of those places where they go, where for fall, where the kids go on do all of their maize and stuff like that, all of the corn doing for trunk or treat and all of those stuff. All of those places, we go there, we hang there, but we don't actually live there. All of those places follow the exacts, and they need all of those things. Of course, they need inspection, they need wires, they need boxes, they need equipment, but they for a special purposes. One thing you always have to think about this, one thing I always tell about these people, these places, we usually stay there for less than 90 days. Usually stay there for less than 90 days. And that's the reason why you're gonna see in the book, they says that temporary installation must be less than 90 days. I mean, if you go to the hospital, you're not gonna stay there for more than 90 days. Unless if you have something that is really, really critical, or if you're in a nursing home or something like that. But you don't go to the theater, to the movie theater, and stay there for 90 days. Or the airport, or a carnival, or any other places. So that's why you always you can looking at those places. I want to say temporary home, but they're not temporary home, because you don't live at the hospital temporary. You go there for specific purposes. Now, so you see how we have this? So this is this. So think of this as a home, right? And think of this as your actual home, things that you need for your home. So if we have home and we have special home, so we have general equipment for your home, guess what? We're gonna have special equipment. So another joke I usually make, I say, look, this is the equipment that we cannot afford in Haiti, where I was born. Okay, we don't have the money to afford those. So look at it. So if you look at in chapter 6, it's a special equipment. Look at some of the thing over there. Electrical signs. You don't have electrical signs for your house, but I guess you can if you want to. So look at this. Office furnishing. cranes, elevators, electrical vehicle charging station. That's funny. Electrical truck parking space. Electrical welders, pipe organs, X-ray machines. So you see where I'm going with it? Those are very, very, very special equipment versus our equipment are very different. We have dishwashers, we have dryers, we have AC units, we have, I don't know, throw me another one, microwaves. See, those are equipments too, but they're not special equipment. They're equipment for the common people. Versus, when was the last time, one of your classmates say, I'm gonna go buy an X-ray machine? No, you don't. You have to have a very, very specific purpose for it. That's the reason those are special equipment, because you know what? Because they're very expensive. And not only they're very expensive, but they for a special purpose. They for a special use. So the best way to think of it is this. If it's not in your house, most likely it's gonna be over here. If it's not something that you have, you say, you know what, we need to go buy this for the home, most likely it's over here. That's the best way to think of it. If it's a crane, an X-ray machine, a pipe organ, if you have one at your house, you let me know. But most likely it's not gonna be at your house. If it's a microwave or a toaster, it's gonna be over here. Most likely it's gonna be at your house. So when you start looking at the code book this way, you'll be like, no, there's no way, no. If somebody said that X-ray machine, pipe organ, I already know there is no way it's gonna be in chapter 4. Because I know for a fact I can't afford it. If I cannot afford it, it's in chapter 6. If we can afford it, it's in chapter 4. Does that make sense? If we can afford it for our house, it's in chapter 4. So now you get to special conditions. Guess what? Same thing again. The only word that changed is conditions. That's mean if it's special conditions, the word that I want you to come in your mind every time you see chapter 7. Every time you just have 7, there's one thing I want you to think. 911, what is your emergency? When I see chapter 7, I say, that's 911. That's the 911 chapter. Because here's the reason why. Everything on chapter 7 is about life and death. This is why in chapter 7, it's called special conditions. Let me show you the first thing that starts in chapter 7. Watch. You have emergency system circuit. You see the word? Emergency. All of your fire stuff. You have like batteries, standby generators. That's mean if I'm at Mercy, if Mark Ford here and he's flopping like a fish with no water, and you drag me to Mercy, and they told you that the generator just went out, they have a problem with chapter 7. Because they need to have enough backup stuff to keep me alive. Chapter 7 is all about emergency stuff. That's why in chapter 7 it's gonna say batteries need to have a minimum, an hour and a half. They have all those kind of requirements. And another thing you're gonna notice in chapter 7, as soon as it's open, chapter 5 actually gonna open the same way, which I hate those. Those are the most boring thing you will ever read. Actually, I never read them. They're so boring. So the first thing you're gonna hear, it's like a long article. The first thing it's gonna start with emergency system, and it's gonna tell you what is an emergency system. The things we call emergency, it's not emergency for them. So it's gonna have wired service system. If you ever walk in a nursing home, which is we doing one right now, if you ever walk in a nursing home, one of the things they usually have, they have something called, sometimes they call it CRC. Sometimes they call it CRC, sometimes they call it CC. It's called critical, it stands for critical circuit. So the critical circuit are this. And that is something you're gonna see that's gonna push so hard on chapter 7. Critical circuit is this. So basically I have a massive generator here, and then in each one of those rooms where the old people live, the patients, and I just start saying the word old people. I have to say, I lose my job for saying that. The residents. Or they're not patients, but they're not sick. Okay, the residents. I said, yeah, they old people. But, so over here, so here's Miss Birdie room, here's Mr. Joe room, and here's Miss Gertrude, right? All three of them, man, they have like this one have an oxygen machine, this one have a, I don't know how a pacemaker works, so I'm gonna say they have a pacemaker. This one have a pacemaker, and this one, I don't know, he has something that need to keep him alive. I don't know. So, what they have out of the generator, they're gonna have a circuit that's gonna come out over here. That's gonna go all the way to all of those rooms. And then they're gonna have a specific plug. Usually those plugs, you will see them, they will be in red. There will be this red plug, we usually do a quad. They will have like a special ground on them and everything. That's a circuit that goes exactly all the way to your generator. It ties to your generator and it's also tied to the main power that comes to the building. So what this circuit do, there's a plug in it and there's a little night light over here. Little night light over here and no light over here. And then the same circuit also, from that same critical, we call it the CC panel, the critical curve circuit. Sometimes it's CCC, critical curve circuit. It's depending on who you work for. You're gonna hear it called all kind of names. Some people are gonna call it the critical circuit, the critical curve circuit, all kind of names. What it is, out of this circuit also here, all of your exit lights gonna be in there. You're gonna have like, you will have a little exit lights in it. You're gonna have some little battery things in it. Like if there's all those row of lights over here, like all of those lights will be in the switch, one of them will be in the critical circuit. The whole idea behind that is, if they lose power, your exit sign will work. You will have like one light and the whole will work. And Mr. Joe, Miss Gertrude, and Miss Betty, they pacemaker, Gertrude oxygen, and whatever Betty needs to keep her alive. All of these things, those plugs will have power. So those people are staying alive. That's chapter 7. That's why I call it the 911 chapter. So that circuit usually goes straight through. It's by itself. You have its own panel. And you do not tie anything else that is not emergency on that circuit. Because the reason why you're trying to conserve as much as energy and you're trying to give it the best backup and whatever you can. So this is what these things work. So then another one right over here. You see in 7-1, every time you see a name like this, pay attention to it. So that usually means one thing. They can put you in jail for it. Legally required standby slip. You guys see that word legally? That means if you don't follow what's in there, A, you're gonna lose your license. 2, Gertrude died. Gertrude children gonna sue you because you were the lousy electrician that let their mother die. Because you didn't follow that. Because what's gonna happen when we go to court, that's another thing I forgot to tell you about this book. This book is a legal document. When I go to court and Mr. Joe died, and I can say, you know what, Your Honor, I follow every single thing that was in this book. I did that installation based on this. And then the jury and the judge and all the lawyers, they were looking at it, be like, yeah, nope, Mark is a dummy, he didn't do it. Well, he's going to jail. One of you guys nice enough, you have enough money, you hired me a good lawyer, they just suspend my license, lose my license, hopefully I don't go to jail, but I will never be an electrician again. Every time you see something in here, you're gonna see those words a lot. Mandatory and shall be. Every time you see those words, pay attention to it, especially if you see something on chapter 7. Your life is in it. So, you see this one? Optional. See? This one, you got a little bit more leeway. Oh, you got option. 701, legally. 702, optional. This is how you, this over here, in a connected electrical power system. If you're looking at everything in here, it's going to be the energy storage system. You're looking at everything single in here. That's another one. 708, cops. Not the show. Not the show. There's no bad boy in here. There's no show. Critical operation power system. See that word again? Critical. That's what that word means. Emergency. Somebody gonna die. You guys are getting the picture? That's why I call this chapter the 911 chapter. So if I have something that have life savings on it, it's an emergency, you have to do with a hospital, backup battery. I'm not gonna waste my time in those chapters. I'm gonna be like, snap. That's a question that is coming from chapter 7. Now we get to chapter 8, which is my favorite chapter. Chapter 8. Oh, where's my picture?
It's right there on
Where
the
is it?
table.
Hey, thank you, bud.
Over here, close to me.
Thank you. Chapter 8. The chapter that should have never existed. The teenager chapter. You know why? Cox, internet. They need that chapter so they can go in Facebook and MySpace. I'm old, okay? That's why I just said MySpace. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of the junk that they do. They were okay. I'm being kidding. We need chapter 8 too, because that's all of our internet and all of our stuff. Chapter 8 is all communication, low voltage. But I call it the teenager chapter because that's where that's where my 14-year-old daughter is. Right there. That's a chapter. Now, chapter 9 is tables. Chapter 9 is very, very important because chapter 9 is one chapter we never use. Matter of fact, if you want to know how to wire something, people will be like, I don't know how to wire things in the code. Yes, we do. There's a lot of things. Chapter 9 got a bunch of good information on it. If you want to know how many wires you can put in a pipe, if you want to know how many number 6 that can go in the pipe, the size of wires, all of the information that you are not going to find, they are in chapter 9. Matter of fact, another thing I'm going to tell you about chapter 9 that is really, really cool. Let's see if I can find it. Chapter 9 can show you how to wire a house. Believe it or not. So you can do all of your voltage calculation right there. If you go in the last page right there, it's called Annex D, right over here, it's gonna tell you examples for a one-family dwelling. It gives you all the size. If this house is 1,500 square feet times 2, we're gonna do a lot of things on chapter 9. A lot of things, because there's a bunch of good examples over there. What kind of service that you need, what kind of size service that you need, all of those over here. So if you ever wanna know, be like, is my service big enough or too small? Chapter 9 have a bunch of good examples, and that's why it's called tables.